Hi, thanks for joining us again here in the Beatrice studio for our bi-weekly-ish update. What's going on, Nathan?
Oh boy, what is going on?
What were we doing last week?
Let's see, what were we doing last week? Well, I made 7 half-scale forms and stands. We shipped some forms.
Here's
I
the
edited
half
some
scales.
models and did some manufacturing of other forms. So last week was a busy week. Oh, and then we also are considering some changes to our stands. So
And the reason
if you
why we're
wanna-
looking at stands is because that is one of the most expensive components in our dress forms. And, you know, we actually have to do a lot of work on our stands. They're not so great. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So when we get our stands, I mean they're the least expensive option. We wanted to keep the price down, so we source some stands. But when we get them, they're honestly they're not in great shape. So I install a new handle. I clean up a little bit of the casting, and then I do some work on the pole to make it so that the form slides up and down nicely.
So if you're not familiar with our stands, they're cast iron base. They have wheels, they have a foot pedal, and we want to make sure that the operation of moving them up and down it's very smooth.
Yeah.
And we also, it's cast iron, and we want to just clean that up and make sure that they look nice.
Yeah, the quality of those castings is not,
Yeah.
it's not real high.
Yeah, that's how they are. I mean, we've looked all over the planet. We cannot find anything better, so for the price point that we need to be at. So anyway, it's still really expensive.
Yep.
So we were chatting with Nate's dad. So Nate's dad is amazing. He has a background he knows a lot about manufacturing. He used to be in the insurance biz.
Yeah.
Yeah, tell them a little bit about your dad's background. I think it's so interesting.
Well, he grew up on a farm.
That's true.
And then just worked a lot of different jobs throughout the years, which kind of puts him in this unique
What kind
position.
of jobs?
I don't honestly know.
Didn't he do some like wastewater treatment plant? He would work. So in insurance, he wasn't just like an insurance agent. He did the assessment for factories, right? For manufacturing. And then he would give recommendations for how to make their operations safer. I mean, really big things. Didn't he work on some like a Ferris wheel thing? He had to do an evacuation plan for a giant Ferris wheel.
Yeah, he did.
So he's just a really he's had experience with a lot of large scale things and manufacturing and plants. And so he just knows a little bit about everything on how things are made. So when Nathan was growing up, you folks made a lot of things together. I mean, you guys do machining projects and woodworking. He made a violin for Nathan. Well, he made a violin and then a viola because Nathan used to play the viola as a child. So he decided, I'm going to make a viola. So he made a bread oven, like a giant
Pizza oven.
He made a mobile coffee roasting cart. He made his own, what's the little organ that he put on the back of the...
A pipe organ.
He made a pipe organ that had an animatronic monkey. What did the monkey do?
It was the organ grinder.
It was the grinder. So it would like turn this wheel and then it would play a little song, and then the song was controlled from his iPhone. That is so cool. I guess. If you're a small child, it's very, very, very cool. He was very popular at the farmer's market. Anyway, the reason why I'm telling you all this is Larry is such a creative person. It makes sense like why you just grew up with this stuff. And anyway, he was the one that had some ideas for us about how we could make our own stands. So we're thinking about it. No, we're not committing to anything. We're just doing some investigation and trying to figure out what would take. What would it take?
Well, there's a local foundry. I think it's the last foundry in Colorado. They can do much nicer castings than what we have today, there's a lot of upfront capital investment involved.
Why? Why is it expensive?
Well, because you have to make the pattern for the casting, and I'm sure there's some test runs they have to do. I don't really know. We've got to set up a meeting with
several
them.
$1,000s just to do the setup with the pattern and everything and test it.
Yeah.
And so this would be to reproduce the stands as we ship today, what you're used to at a traditional dress form stand. And then he priced out all the different pieces so that the foot pedal would work, and it has the little, what's the thing at the top that grabs the tube that holds the dress form?
The slide nut.
Slide nut.
That's what we're calling it.
So he priced all that out, and it's not cheap to do it, but at least they'd be higher quality and somewhat less cost. So then we start brainstorming. We're like, what other material do we know besides cast iron that's really, really heavy? And we thought of cement. You know, cement's like really modern and cool. We were like, oh, maybe we can make the base out of that. But we're really curious. We think we can cast them, but what we want to know is, as sewists out there, do you care that it doesn't have an operating foot pedal? Because I used to think that was a non-negotiable, but maybe it is negotiable. Would you be okay to move the form up and down with a thumb screw and then perhaps not even have wheels on the base? I mean, that would save a lot of money, and it would make the product cheaper and maybe make it accessible for more people. So I'm really curious. If you have some opinions about this, I would love to hear from you in the comments.
Yeah.
So pretty exciting.
Yeah.
Don't get too excited, Nathan.
I'm trying.
I mean, you're kind of getting out of control. You need to take the emotion down.
Okay. I'll be a little more subdued.
All right, what else? So on Friday, so all week we were trying to get these forms at the door, but we also were preparing for a draping class that we taught at Fancy Tiger for the staff. And this was kind of a test run to get feedback. Most of our participants are instructors at Fancy Tiger, so I got the best feedback. I feel like we got really lucky to get this opportunity. So you made 7
half-scale
forms
and
stands. We had to come up with, so these little stands are tabletop stands. The reason why we decided to teach using half scale is because I've been playing around with half scale for a while now, and it's actually just a lot easier to work with. I mean, the obvious thing is you use a lot less materials, but the other thing is that it's very easy to see the entire garment, to see the proportions without having to step back. So you can work close up and make your assessment, your visual assessment, like, how is this design going, without having to step back. I just feel like it's just easier to work with. The other thing is it makes it doable for us to run a class because we can make these forms at a reasonable price. The other thing is we knew that it wouldn't be affordable to have everybody scan their bodies and then make custom forms for everybody. And so we just picked a shape. And this is based off a real person, so at least it's a real person shape, not one of those really unrealistic standard forms with no bum and no boobs and, just very unrealistic. So this is a real person with asymmetries. So you could still learn about asymmetry and how to drape around curves. But what I learned preparing this class, first let me tell you what the class was about before I get into the insights. So what we did is we talked about basic theory behind why you would want to drape, what it's for, what it's great for. We talked about grain line, and we talked about, what else? What was I talking about? I did a demonstration. So I think the best way to learn this stuff, I'm talking about how fabric is made with the grain line and all the terminology you need, but also how to mark your form. So, what center back, center front, how do you find, where do you put a jewel neckline? How do you find these things? What's natural waist? Where is that? Just a lot of basics that you need no matter what in your sewing. And then we just went ahead and draped a top. I actually prepared a skirt, but there wasn't enough time, but I actually think you get a lot out of just draping one one garment. So this is the garment that we draped. So people did their own variations on this. So different, I mean, I basically set up to go to almost make a dress out of this because I did it very fitted. I wanted to show how to do the waist dart here. And then we did some shearing, which was super fun. So the grain line gets really wacky around here, which is fun. And just working with volumes and pinching out darts. And so that was fun. But people did different things like asymmetric hems. And we talked about ease. And some people did designs that weren't super close fitting. So very interesting to see different people's takes on the same assignment.
What would home sewists care about draping?
Well, what I discovered when I've been slowly coming to understand this as I've been working with draping, you know, everyone out there knows I'm obsessed with draping. And what I'm realizing is as a home sewist, I'm not going to be designing, I mean, right now, I have no aspirations of designing patterns for the world. Or designing clothing, but I am designing for myself. And what I learned by draping is I'm learning about how fabric behaves around the human shape. Even for people who are more, who are still learning about sewing garments, I think it teaches about why darts are in certain places, what they're for, why are they a certain length, why does the grain line have to go this way? How do I make adjustments? So, you know, you read about these, you know, full bust adjustment, sway back. You learn about these concepts, but they're very abstract, and you can learn physically on like a half scale form. Even if it's not you can learn how you would do these alterations. So I feel like it's a great tool to learn how to alter your clothes. The other thing is anytime you change a pattern, unless you're sewing something straight out of the envelope and never making a single change, I doubt it, you have to be able to true your patterns. You need to understand something about pattern drafting in order to just make alterations to existing patterns. So I feel like working on the dress form and draping, even if it's not you, even if it's not full scale, it's half scale, you can learn why things need to be a certain way, why certain things have to be at right angles, why does the grain line have to be this way. And I feel like you can experiment really quickly. In 30 seconds, you can try something different just with pins and playing, and you can discover this on your own. And to me, it makes so much sense in the physical realm as opposed to in these abstractions. So instead of learning from a book, and learn by doing it with your hands. I think that actually can really be a faster way, and you can have a better full understanding as to why things are a certain way. Yep. So that's why I think it's great. Because, you know, when we first were talking about this, people were like, well, why are you using half scale? Is it going to be worth it for me if I sew for myself, but I'm draping on this shape that's not me? I think that's irrelevant. In fact, I think you can learn a lot more draping on somebody else's shape than your own. In a lot of ways, because you'll get new challenges. Oh, the other thing I found really cool is you can see what happens with ease and drag lines when you take fullness away or add fullness. Like, what if I put the shoulder dart? What if I get rid of the shoulder dart? What happens? So I love that. You can do these quick experiments, which would take for freaking ever if you were, you know, having to make a flat pattern and then cut it out and sew it and put it on yourself. Whereas you can try little experiments in 1 or 2 minutes on a half-scale dress form and just see what happens. Which I think is cool. And you're like, that's where those drag lines come from. I get it now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what I got out of it. And everyone seemed to have a good time. Our workshop was 4 hours long. And I think that was about the right length for what we were doing.
4 hours was, I think, just the right amount.
Yeah.
You wouldn't want to do it longer.
Yeah, I think it would have to be a multi-day class to do more. We didn't have time to trace off our patterns onto paper, but we did true up our patterns on the muslin. So we did get some time to practice truing.
Yeah.
So that was good.
All right, you want to hint at the...
So we have plans. Stuff? We have stuff in the works, folks. So stay tuned to our Instagram and our newsletter. We have exciting things coming up over the next couple of months. They're going to be related to what I'm talking about right now, about draping and half-scale form. So we're almost ready to share some exciting things with you. So definitely stay tuned.
Yeah.
I guess that's all we have.
I guess that's all we have.
Anyway, well, thank you for spending some time with us again here in the studio. And until next time.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Okay, let's do this.
Let's do it!
Oh, God.
Pumped! Get pumped!
I'm pumped. Can you tell how pumped I am?
Okay.
Okay, wardrobe.
Okay, wardrobe. Okay.